AI Esther Yazzie-Lewis in Shiedo, Torketlin in Shlido, but Anibashachin, Torjini Dashachedo, Ashe Dashanale, Akut Ad AI, at the Schnedo, a sun in the Schle. Good morning and hello to every. I guess I can start off by saying hello to everyone and talking about how water is important or what it means to me. I live in the desert in the Southwest in New Mexico, and we don't have rain on a daily basis or every month. We don't have snow every month of the winter season. Lately, it's been getting warmer and warmer, and I know that when I was a child, it seemed like it would snow, and the snow would stay, and the snow was deep, and it wasn't 2 inches or 3 inches or just an inch of powder dust. And slowly, as the years go by, snow has been less and less, rain has been less and less. And so water is a really precious resource in the Southwest. And we do have underground water, but that's like for using, when you're really out of like watershed. It's a watershed that runs into the ground and fills up those aquifers that are under the ground, especially on the Navajo reservation. The mountains are not all right there, the big mountains that do the boundaries of the Navajo reservation. We got an east mountain, a south mountain, and a west mountain, and a north mountain. The east mountain is closer or in the central part of New Mexico, the state, more on the northeast side. The southern mountain is more toward the west side of the state of New Mexico, but on the south side of sits right by I-40 near the Arizona border. And then the west mountain sits in Flagstaff. And the north mountain sits just inside of Colorado. So those are the mountains that make the boundaries for the Navajo Nation. And there is a river that runs from Colorado, and it's called the San Juan River. And that river turns into the Colorado River. Then it runs all the way down by the border of California and Arizona. Parker runs through Parker, Arizona, and it runs into the peninsula in Mexico, goes into Mexico. And that goes west and then southwest into the Pacific Ocean. Then we have the water that runs, what we call the Rio Grande, and that runs from the Colorado Mountains south through Albuquerque, and then it keeps going down to Las Cruces, and it runs through El Paso and on the border of the Texas border all the way down into Brownsville, Texas, into the Gulf of Mexico, which is the Atlantic Ocean. And I say that to say that these things are really important for Navajo people, because you got the Atlantic Ocean and then you got the Pacific Ocean. And so, we believe that the two oceans eventually, with the mists and the clouds, that it comes together. So that's where our rain and our source of water comes from. And here in the Southwest, we're in the desert. And because we're in the desert, we don't have any water. I grew up having to go to the well and throw a bucket down the well, and we had to bring the bucket up and fill up the barrels to haul water back to the house, just for usage at the house for drinking water. And some of that water was also used for livestock. But we had a windmill, and the windmill is where our livestock drank. We had to travel like at least, uh, I would say about 4 or 5 miles to get to the water and and water our animals, and it was once a day. And so water was a real precious resource, and we didn't have a lot of it. So my my thing was that Navajo people can live in the desert and understand that the desert doesn't have any water, but as people, we have to understand where the source of water is. And so a lot of times there's creeks and streams. We don't have rivers that run through our land, so it has to be based on streams, where streams run when it rains. So a lot of times down in the bed of those streams is where the trees and vegetation grow, because you know that water is there, because the vegetation grows there a lot greener. And so you have to understand how to find your water. And so in if a person came from Seattle, then a Native American, to come to the desert, they would have to overcome the fear of, how do we get water? This is so dry. How do I get water? And the importance of what it means to us as Navajo people that we don't have water. And so just the mere fact that you go down there and haul your water back, you don't want to, waste any water. And that was the way I grew up. We don't waste water. We don't play with water. We drink water and we use it for our food, our cooking, our washing. Mm-hmm. And so, those kind of things were really ingrained in us to be careful with water. And then here in the Southwest, it's the sun, and just understanding the power of how, when you don't have any water in the desert, it's really about the power and the spirit of the desert, that you can overcome a lot of things, and how you can understand to appreciate water and communicate with it and live in it, and understand that water is what you're made out of, and water is a necessity for you to live. It's not a choice. You have to have water. And so it all has to do with your body fluid being, cleansed, and your blood being rich in the way that it's supposed to be, rich in white and red blood cells, and the food that you eat, and water takes care of all of that. And so I was just explaining this morning that in order to run a car, you have to put gas in it. But once you run out of gas, you don't have any more gas, and that machine stops. And so your body is like that. You have to keep putting water into your system in order for your body to keep functioning. And so we need to educate our Navajo youth that if you like to drive a car and like to get around, well, your body is the same way. If you want to go places and do things, you have to take care of your body. You have to give it water, and that you can't waste water. And so when it rains out in the desert, it's a beautiful thing. You look at it as a, you're being blessed. And so I think it's really important to understand the power of the water, and the power of the desert and the air. And so the air is like the ocean in a way, because it has the different levels. And the ocean has the same thing. It has different levels as it goes deeper into the water. And so, in Navajo, we say everything has its something that comes together. They come in pairs. And so they always meet each other, like the earth and the heavens and the sun and the moon and the, you know, the water and the air, they all come together and it's all a part of ecology. And so I think that water in that sense is very important to human life and understanding it.